morning on Monday, the 17th of February 2025. It's 8 a.m. in the Gambia, and therefore Coffee Time on West Coast Radio with me, Peter Gomez. On YouTube, our program is sponsored by Jah Oil.
In a world where progress never sleeps, one company stands out as the driving force behind infrastructure and energy solutions. Introducing our fuel company and cement producer, where excellence meets efficiency. Jah Oil. The company have 30 filling stations across the country that are all operating, which includes the recently completed Yarambamba and Old Yundum filling stations. And our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Along the years, Jah Oil introduces importation and distribution of cement in their line of business to diversify and strengthen their operations. Are you a cement retailer? At the moment, Jah Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market. With a focus on sustainability and innovation, we are paving the way for a greener, stronger future. Trust in us to fuel your projects and lay the groundwork for success. We currently produce over 25,200,000 bags per year. As the largest cement producer in the country, Jah Oil also targets to export cement to the neighboring countries like Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, and others. Join us on our journey to shape a world where every drop of fuel and every bag of cement makes a difference. Together, we can build a brighter tomorrow.
And if you'd like to advertise on the program, get in touch with Mr. Jibril Jassi on 699-0107 or 787-0107 or 924-2424. We need the adverts. They are what keep the program going. I'll tell you what other thing we cherish on the program: audience feedback. And having heard our story on the price of bread being put on hold, the new price that is, because bakers want to increase bread by $3 from $10 per loaf to $13 per loaf. So the government put out a statement saying they have succeeded in talking the Bakers Union out of an immediate increase. But now I am getting feedback from listeners that bread is not available at all in their area. So if you're not getting bread in your area, please send us a text message, because it will help government to know that their intervention has either been good or bad. So if you have bread, send us a message to say you have bread and where you're texting from. Equally, if you do not have bread, send us a text message saying where you are and, the fact that you don't have bread. Anyway, our studio backdrop, as I said earlier, is changing, as I'm sure you'll have noticed for yourself, those of you watching us on YouTube, all thanks to a young man called Shahsane, who's doing all this at his own expense. He has all the alterations. He simply likes what we are doing here on Coffee Time with Peter Gomez, especially on YouTube, and thinks he could make the background look more appealing with something like you're seeing now. If you ask me, it definitely looks much better, but the smell of paint is overpowering. And my first guest in our new look studio is Honorable Almami Gibba, National Assembly member representing Fonyi Councillor. Good morning, Honorable Gibba, and I hope you don't have any paint allergies. Are you sure you can cope?
No, it's quite okay for me. I am from the village. So we are naturally.
What does that mean?
We can cope with any status.
You swim in paint in the village or what?
No, not swimming. We are done with any. I think what to say. Any move that finds us away.
We should have started this conversation 42 minutes ago.
Yes, so you're right.
Because you knew you should have been here for 8 a.m.
Exactly. Because what happened is I was caught by traffic. I thought I could make it, but unfortunately, I am around.
Fantastic. So Independence Day tomorrow, we'll talk about that. But I want to take you back because probably, as you drove to the studio, you were listening to the news headlines on radio. Diamond Jubilee celebrations to feature Gambia's rich cultural and artistic heritage. That's on the Gambia Daily today. Now, when President Jammeh was, running this country, the Jola tradition, a lot of people complained, had overshadowed any other, culture. I mean, do you feel that that is continuing, or do you feel that now Jola is being relegated to the sidelines in revenge, if you like?
Yeah, actually, thank you very much. And I think it's enormous, as we call it, the 60th anniversary. As I may go straight to your question in relating to traditional practices, I think Gambians are overshadowed by events, which I could say. Jammeh's cultural heritage celebration includes all tribes, irrespective of where you come from. And naturally, we've seen the wave in the Jaura time, where most of the tribes, for example, the Jola and the Manjakos, were never even in the aspect of even being in the radio, neither even joining the tradition. So when Jammeh came, he abhorred all tribes were doing their thing. But the Jolas and the Manjakos had also got enough to see that they are also part of Gambian. And this is what continues. But as the things are unfolding, I think it's a different game.
It's a different game.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to Foraya, who announced Alport Banjul takes over Gambia Ports Authority in a 30-year partnership for 30 years. You people in the National Assembly have approved the port being handed over to, a foreign company.
Yeah, actually, I think these are issues that sometimes people will take over and say the Gambian National Assembly approved this.
But didn't you?
It is not. It was not brought to Parliament. And I am also part of the National Assembly of Public Enterprise Committee. It was never brought to Parliament for us to ratify or either approve. So these are notions that sometimes we will engage. And we also raise the flag onto the 30 years, the percentage structure. What is the company all about? Is there any feasibility studies at the background to know what type of company are we venturing into? We look at the cognizance of what we call a Guinea Conakry. Most of the people thought that the reason why the fall of Alpha Conde was due towards a third-term mandate. But I can tell you, we've also made independent investigation. This Albar was also part of the when the staffs of Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry ports rioted or an unrest was done. This was also what joined his exit easily. I can tell you for free, I am part of Public Enterprise Committee. We've had 2 engagements with the management of GPA, explaining in details this consensus all about, what it's all about. We just engaged, but it was not brought to Parliament as a bill or a ratification form and said, okay, parliamentarians, what is your take in this port consensus? We've raised a lot of questions. I personally also drove questions targeting issues of consensus. One, about the staff retentions. They are now saying that, yes, the staff will be retained, no changes. But I'm hearing a lot of stories that are going around the GPA. For example, like if you are in the account section, you're moved to technical. What can you do?
Oh.
Or if you're in the sales department, you're moved to other. So the whole thing is, I think, is a haste. It's not properly consulted. To my view, I am not the least impressed the way things are going. Because you hear a lot of stories of staffs saying that, because what we were told, they said, the staffs will be on for a period of 2 years. After 2 years now, wherever you're relocated, it will now be your performance base. If a technical guy is moved to accounts, or an accountant is also moved, or a revenue collector is moved on operational side, what do you expect? So I think the whole of this consensus, I can tell you, the government was ill-advised. And I, being a National Assembly member, I can say to you free that it was not brought to Parliament, either for ratification or for us to approve. It was done at the executive at their own expense, and I think they could have done it better in making sure consultation is done. But now, I'm telling you, they are going for consultation training in Senegal. Currently, our vice...
training in Senegal?
Yes, because we were told that our vice chair told us that they selected, the vice chair of Public Enterprise Committee, the chairman of Public Enterprise Committee, the chairman of Monitoring Committee, and the chairman of Trade Committee onto a training from the 17th to the 20th into this port consensus. So you could see this. If the ground was level.
It's like putting the cart before the horse.
So these are issues. If all those trainings are not put in place, what do you expect? So I think the government is going blindly. And again, in future or time to tell, we will be harmed.
Let's pick a headline from the Voice newspaper. Tombong Sedi says, Barrow's government unable to stem rising cost of living. We all shout about the rising cost of living. We are all feeling the pinch of it. But there, I mean, the bakers wanted to increase the price of bread. Government stepped in. So it's not always correct to assume that government is just sitting idly by and doing nothing about the cost of living. They are doing something.
No, actually, the Gambia, as they normally say, it's a free market economic where, people could do their own will into what they think is right in the close monitoring of government. But we've seen that they have failed woefully into pricing. Looking at the current status of rice, when Jammeh left, a bag of rice minimum was around $800, it's to $950. So now looking at the 8 years of Barrow, $2,003, $2,250, it shows an alarm. So this was why a lot of talks were going sideline that, if you talk about onion, Jammeh goes to onion. If you talk about meat, Jammeh goes to meat. If you talk about rice, Jammeh goes. The food self-sufficient, I can tell you. The whole...
Jammeh even went into bread.
Yes. He went into bread. So the idea is this was a man who was very understandable in terms of who Gambians are. And again also, not only that, he was very sympathetic to the Gambian people, in which he saw the need that if we could work onto stabilizing the prices, you cannot use force and said, okay, today this is the amount. Whenever they said about rice, he'll go bring rice. Whenever they said about bread, he'll go bring bread. Whenever they said about meat, he'll go bring meat. I can tell you for free, Peter, make your investigation. The Vision 2016 rice that Jammeh was echoing all along. Rice were available, stored in Banjulende, currently where you have Gaj global issues were. So when they came, those rices were seared. Jahal Pasha was broke. So you could sense this. Government is not really serious in making sure they control the prices, not taking the lead, but there should be mechanisms in which you could uphold. For example, look at the like of Jah. If you look at what he's investing in terms of rice, you'll be amazed. But is he supported? This is the big question. So private sector participation is a key in making sure we could change the narrative. Poultry aspects, you talk of eggs and other issues. But you realize that government is just like, whenever things occur, before the bakery association could even meet, sit, discuss, bring prices to the public, it should have been another way around. The Minister of Trade could have intervened and said, okay, we want to be a consultation forum. So sometimes now you see some of these organizations or private sector don't even consult government. So I think they should improve in that to make sure let's link to see. Before things comes up, let's consult and see things moving.
And thank you very much for your text messages on the situation of bread. Good morning, Uncle Peter. I think the bakers are on strike right now. There is no bread at the moment. And another one says, morning, no bread in Bakote SOS. This one says, good morning, Mr. Peter. I work at Canifing. I drop at Westfield to Jimpex. There is no bread. All the breakfast sellers are absent because they don't have any bread to sell any breakfast. This is becoming concerning. Hi, Uncle Peter. Most of the shops in Wellingara are not selling bread today. So, in effect, well, government intervened, but what their intervention has caused is not to keep the price stable at $10. In fact, bread has disappeared from the shelves.
Peter, you can also ask, what type of intervention did they do? Is it a phone call?
Well, they said they spoke to
these are natural. For example,
the Bakers Union.
We are in the technological world.
Yes.
A responsible government, if you are to communicate to an agency, an association, or a form of societal aspects, what do? Should you write press releases or should you do phone calls? Have we seen any media covering?
What should they do?
One, in the first place, before the Bakers Association had sat on their own to discuss and come up with a price, it should have been the government engaging them. If there is collaboration, we could have seen differently that the government has engaged the Beggars Association in regard to the bread. This is what they wanted to do. But therefore, the government had taken ownership to discuss and see further what they could. And again, they could come with a press release. After engagement with the Beggars Association, this is what we have restored to. So if you have a secret talk, telephone conversation, or you call the chairman, or you call the head association, I think we do X, Y, Z. This is always the problem. So now, if really seriousness of engagement was done, we are here in numerous areas where there's no bread.
Yeah.
What causes that? So it means either one way or the other.
I'd like to hear from Banjul though. Banjul, do you have bread? Let us know. because the bread shortage seems to be around the Kanifing municipality. Was there bread in Fonyi when you were coming out this morning?
No, actually I didn't consult. I didn't consult though. Even I live around Willingara Kungunyang N. I just woke up.
Well, Wellingara has no bread.
Yes.
One of the text messages is from...
It may be possible. Because although I left the family, I could not try to seek bread.
All right. Banjul, we wait to hear from you. Do you have bread this morning? Whenever you are here, you like to talk about security.
Yes.
Surely the security situation has improved because the last time you were here, you raised an alarm about the situation in the Fonyis.
Yes.
And even warned that there could be, full-blown war,
exactly.
Breaking out between possibly our soldiers and the soldiers of Senegal. So what's the situation now in the Fonyis?
Yeah, actually, it's quite now. And again, I will also thank the...
It's quiet.
It's quiet, very quiet now. I will also thank the minister.
Is it because Sonko is in power across the border?
Actually, I think that's the window of change so far Fonyi is concerned. Immediately when Sonko took over, things start dropping. The scams, the shooting that was flying over to the country, it was deeply...
Is it because suddenly the people of Casamas felt that, well, they are now in power?
No, not actually. It was just like the proactive seriousness of becoming a responsive government. You could see Maki has vengeance in the border territory. And Adama Barrow was...
Why would Maki be
for him...
Be vengeful when he was said to be a friend of Barrow's?
No, for him... it was just like, the friendship could be a different mode of operandi. In terms of security, Barrow was I can even say, a verb that was used in issues of the borderline region. Because, for example, any serious president, your security, your territorial security is a concern for you. Now, you could see 2021, 2019, 2021, 2022. The way the people of Fonyi were running off away the border region, schools was a challenge, shelter, even some of them lose their animals, some of them even were killed in the border region, or some of them were even wounded, pregnant women. So when some of those things were happening, it was in the Maki regime. And Maki was at the center stage to make sure he would use an all-out war. The reason for that is, sometimes the Gambians do forget happenings that are going. And sometimes I don't hear much about the activists in the country talking about what had heralded the full force hitting of Macky Sall in the border region. It was caused in the Gambia. Those in the Buyam checkpoint were the one who pursued a lorry into the Gambian, Balen. They went to Kappa, Balen. And the people of Balen told them, where you are heading is a rebel zone. It is a no-go area. Don't go. You have now left the Gambian territory. It was the Senegalese soldiers in Fonyi who had caused that terrible war. And some of them were killed. I think 7 were released after negotiations with the rebel leader, ECOWAS and whatever. So this was why Maki came in an all-out war in the help of Adama Barrow. Because, for example, now, if Senegalese soldiers in the Gambia, when war is erupting, they are in combat, and they go closer to the borderline, what are they doing? They are defending. So the Gambian soldiers also will be in the intermediate between the Senegalese, the border, and the other part, you also have the rebels, and the other far part, you also have the Senegalese. So it means a buffer between these two elements. So when it happens, I think there was a time where Gambian soldiers were so irritated, a war could have even erupted in the Gambia. And now I can tell you, in the early 2021, 2022, rebels came and seized our Gambian road, the road linking from Mandinaba to Soma. Rebels came and seized.
Oh, wow.
Because of what? The forced intimidation that foreign occupancies are doing as if they're in a joint war to make sure hold this side in the Gambia as Senegalese, not Gambian soldiers. And the other side also, you hold it as Senegalese soldiers. In between, you have the rebels. So this is why the rebels knew that the guy who is accomplishing this effect is Barrow as a president. So when it happened now, the Senegalese who are stationed in Biam had to run for refuge in Kanila. So the whole station, the whole camp, or the whole, checkpoint was a free area. They ran away. So this was why the Gambian armed forces, with the leadership of Colonel Umar Bojang, Lieutenant Colonel Umar Bojang, had to came with Gambian soldiers. Show of peace. Gambian flag was raised. It was a full-fledged negotiation. For 3 good hours, that road, no vehicle passed. So they negotiated. The rebel has to move back and went into Casamas. So these are all issues that had happened in Fonyi. And I can tell you, the worst part that the people of Fonyi had faced before independence, after independence, and when Jammeh was there, it was a lack of schooling. And I can tell you, when Barrow took over, students in Fonyi is dropping. You go to a class where you have 25, 30.
But they claim that they have built more classrooms than than Jammeh and Jawara combined.
8 years of Jammeh, 8 years in his leadership. Statistics are available. They built over 200 schools. 8 years.
These people are talking in the thousands.
So now,
classrooms.
That 1,000 that they're talking of, I can tell you for free. I do normally sometimes put a question mark. If MRC Holland Foundation was not available, MRC Holland Foundation was not available in the country, what would be the state of our education?
Well, it doesn't.
Because the problem is, look at what chunk are they putting into the budget. You could ask, before you shout, I am also part of Education Committee and ICT. How much is put into the development budget? How much is put into tertiary? Last year, 0.8. We fought this year, including the higher education minister. The budget line for development was 0. So are you now saying that, Professor Gomez, keep chanting, raising your arm, doing the praising, as if a church or an imam in a pulpit asking for support, that you go and fix yourself with the donors? But now, these are all realistic aspects that talks up.
Well, they will tell you that he has the Turkish helping him. He has the Chinese helping him.
No, this is the doing.
He has the Germans helping him. So TVET education has adequate support.
No, the adequate support that we have said now, I'm telling you, this year, they put 0 development.
Yeah. Because support is coming from the Turks.
But the support
is coming
now,
from the Chinese. Support is coming from the Germans.
If you talk about support, I think for yourself as a government, you have to put something in the table. And now you're seeing that the wave that are coming, donor fatigue, is trying to enter into Africa.
Well, Trump is around.
So these are issues. So if, for example, you're saying, okay, let's cut this and we move it. But now, look at it carefully. Office of the President, what is their budget?
You tell me. You're the people who approve whatever is going to him.
To the issue of tour, Barrow spent about 60 million last tour. Where we are heading to, and we have approved about 20, 30 million.
Exactly. I was going to say, when you people approved only 30, you allowed him to spend 60.
No, the problem, they do what we call environment. And again, also sometimes, in legislative powers,
they can do whatever they want, but eventually they'll come back to you. And they've come back to you, and you people have approved 50.
No, for us.
Or 45 million.
For us, the problem is, I want you to put this across for people to understand how Parliament works.
Yes, please do.
Today, I can say, for example, if they bring a budget line and said, I am not convinced, I am not approving, I am not a party to this, I will raise an alarm and say no. So the majority that had interest in their own playing field could say, yes, we want this. And in Parliament, even if you have a 10 to 11, they will say, yes, Parliament has approved this. But I can tell you, us who are very of interest in terms of our issues of economic, we raised our flag and said, no, this is too much. This is not acceptable. And it's not helpful. And now looking at sectors, I can tell you today, Peter, can you march and go to Ndemban? Patients are sleeping on the floor. They are sleeping on the floor. access to healthcare system is a challenge. But so these are all areas that I think we could have shifted our
But Almami, and this is why sometimes people say the National Assembly, you honorable members, are part of the problem. Gambians have bemoaned the health situation of this country ever since Barrow came to power. And we keep getting, we are building this in Farato, we are building this in West Coast region, we are doing that with this and that. But tangibly, we are not feeling, the impact of all that doing. And yet, you people at the National Assembly, you keep approving things for health all the time, and nothing is coming. Now we hear a scandal of, $720,000. Why are you people not calling the health authorities, and putting them to account?
The problem that we have in this country is political interest has also taken ownership of the national. These are facts.
Yeah, but if we all die,
the general notion...
Who will Barrow preside over if we all die?
The problem is the general notion that we face as a country in parliament is partisanship. Now, unless and until the National Assembly members realize that as I am a representative of this country called the Gambia and my constituency. But if you're trying to work on representing your party, in where the cake of about 2 or 3 million people are...
So in effect, you people are national party members in the National Assembly rather than,
It is taking the
representative of people.
It is taking the chunk of the percentage. Because I can tell you this, sometimes if bills come that you think are not correct, people said, no, let's do this. They will say, I have to work on because of my party. Because of the government. We have to push the government to make sure they realize. Sometimes they will say, realize their MDGs or their policies. A policy that is trying to deteriorate and now signal a bad effect into our sovereignty as a country. It's not a good policy. And now looking at the core situations, I can tell you the reason why, Peter, sometimes that's why I do tell governance is all about using your mind. The Arabic, they now say akil, the brain. For example, the Barrow government, when they came,
yes,
what they want to do, what they want people to see. Okay, when I came, you hear what they are shouting. When I came, I built this hospital. When I came, I do this. It's not about hospital. It's about where do you move, you uplift the healthcare from this level to another level. The AMRs that you work on the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital or RVTH, sometimes when you go, more of tests are done privately, away from the teaching hospital. And now some of those issues, these are challenges that we think now the ownership, the responsive government should come and say, hey, look, I think building hospitals are enough. What do we use? The materials, the tools, and also the medical apparatus that will be able to change the status of that Gambian guy. Today you go to some of these hospitals. I wish you make a stroll and take a video in them. Bare floor. They'll ask you, Peter, you came with Mariam. Bring your mat. Or bring your mattresses.
That's a shame.
So these are all issues that are happening. And I think most of the cases also, when, for example, the reason why some of these things are happening is because of lack of proper monitoring. They don't monitor. You sit in office as a president. Ask President Barrow, when has he visited Nemban as a president? When has he visited Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital as a president? When has he visited any barracks to show that I am the incumbent? So if the president doesn't visit, ministers will also just relax. Again also, today in the country, if, for example, the minister announced and said, okay, I'm Minister Samate, I'm going to visit Nemban Clinic. They'll make sure all beds and mattresses are put in place.
It has to be a surprise visit.
So these are all issues that I think
it has to be
the lack of monitoring and also visiting had anchored the failure. And the fear factor is people are not fearful now. The reason why I said, forget him. This guy doesn't even visit. He doesn't even know what is happening. You sit as a president, people will come and tell you. Today, you go and say, Barrow this as an advisor. Another advisor tell him another thing. Another advisor tell him another thing. What, again, do we think? But, for example, now, if you do ask what you're doing, most of the cases you see Barrow visiting roads. And do you eat mods? Do you eat this, whatever roads? What are you visiting roads for? When you have institutions that are falling apart, you never visit. And sometimes now you see that the interest of his visit anchored in something. For example, today, Gamsel is kaput, is moving away. Look at what happens to GIA. Public state-owned enterprises are moving on. Nero is a part of it. Look at the consensus support. And I'm telling you also, GCCA is also in the next line.
To be privatized.
Either a public-private partnership. So these are all issues that I think the government is not taking in charge of its governance. Now, if government is not in line of making sure they uphold to the needs and aspirations of its Gambian people, they'll anchor on. And sometimes also look at this. I'm telling you, we have the Gambian University.
Yes.
And now they're working to say the Public Service University, MDI.
Yes.
University of Science and Technology.
You said yes.
Now, all these issues go to advance.
And University of Education.
So now, the University of the Gambia is a challenge currently. It is not met its requirements. Sometimes even salaries, they have to go and take loan in the bank to pay salaries. And now when you look at, what they're giving them, the subventions, cannot even uphold the salaries. And they're asked not to increase the tuition fees in order for them to meet their demands. So you have a university that's not incomplete. You're building another one. The idea is to make sure, and said, yes, when I was a president, I brought University of Science and Technology, University of Education. That's not the purpose. The purpose is we want to see efficiency. Look at Gambia College before, when it was free of charge. Today you pay. SRN, State Enrolled Registered Nurse, you pay. SCN, you pay. CHN. Now you go to the Gambian College School of Education, you pay. Now look at the qualities of teachers that are coming out. Because the idea is if you involve monetary gain in any issue, quality will drop. Before, they will tell you, before you're admitted at the college, you have to sit on exams to qualify your certificate. If you say you get 5 credits, they will now say, okay, for you to do HTC, do an exam. Okay. PTC, do an exam. So all is fainted because what? Competition is in the making, not quality. Okay. So these are all issues that I think now the government should focus on. All right. And now realize its potential in terms of making gains.
Honorable Almame Gibba is our guest this morning. Let's bring you up to speed with what is happening with the bread situation. Texter saying there is a long queue at a pancake seller at Jimpex because of lack of bread. So pancake is a substitute for bread this morning. Mamsid Sise, a fellow journalist, saying no bread in Banjul, Peter. Okay, there's a text message here for Honorable Gibba. We'll get back to that later on. Uncle, there is no bread in Talinding at this moment. And very good morning to you. This one says, Peter, just now I sent my child to buy bread and she has bread. I'm at Kamarakunda Junction in Kunkujang. So in Kunkujang, they are baking bread.
Yeah, actually, maybe on my Johnson, there's a bakery a house there.
Maybe that's that's. Is that part? No, that's not part of your area. Your area is way further into the phonies.
Chancellor, yes. Actually, so that is the issue. So now, some of these issues that we are facing as a challenge of a country, you realize that in order for us to make it, seriousness must take a center stage.
Okay.
I can just give you this example. How politicians, including President Barrow, are scrambling for a word, Masembe word in Kiang. If they're really serious and tell us what they're spending that particular word, joining to make sure they gain that particular word, it's of millions. A word.
Yeah, but so too are the other parties that
that's what I'm saying.
That will be putting up candidates.
So the same. So now,
even if your party was able to put up a candidate there, they would, wouldn't they?
Now for us, we know. Sometimes you look at the catchment area. Does it necessitate financially whether you will get gains? These are all issues that you put in consideration.
Yeah.
But we are hearing a lot of talks that are going within bribery and trying to distinguish and say.
Is that what the APRC did when Jammeh was around?
No, APRC didn't even do such. What they are doing now, the millions that they are spending into election and electoral process is way different. Jammeh win the hearts and minds of people in area of what we call development.
People say he intimidated.
No, you don't see.
Intimidated
the problem now, the intimidated are talking now.
Into giving him false loyalty.
No, not the same. We were even arguing, when they went to Masembe.
Yes.
We saw the road that they were clearing in our forum at the National Assembly.
Who were clearing this road?
The NPP saying, vote for our candidate. We have started clearing the road from this end to then. We ask, Was this road not around 8 years ago? So you now came to fool the minds of people. And now when you look at the roads that they are working on in the country, it's too much. Touch here, live here, touch here, live here. Where I am just staying currently, not even Fonyi. In my Fonyi, they are also building a road. But we are suffering in terms of waves of destruction, in terms of health hazards. You know, it's not even complete. They've started trials. Go to Tabokoto, Willingara, Old Yundum. It's a problem. So now you are starting another road. That is not even part of the budget. When you ask some of the National Assembly members, they said government is powerful. But when others are dying in terms of health hazards in areas, they don't want to concentrate on that. But they just want to use and say, okay, let's fool it.
Okay, so why do you think this Masembe ward is important? It's just, you know, it's a municipal ward, local area ward.
No, the problem that I've analyzed is the NPP want to get a stronghold in Kiang, in which they have failed. So in order for them to make political gains in Kiang, this is why they are rioting, putting all resources.
Rioting?
Yes, rioting in terms of human capacity of people, their big wins, majority leaders, you know, the deputy speakers, campaign managers, National Assembly members of NPP, you know, even foreign ambassadors.
All the party bigwigs.
You know, yes, even foreign ambassadors, they had to cancel their ambassadorial job in Saudi Arabia, in China, just to come. For example, they said, okay, Peter, you are from Kiang. Come back. It is now service for you to serve and make sure we get this. Leave your job wherever you are.
So they're seeking return on investment by making you ambassador, go and convince your people to make sure they give us this
Exactly. That's the deal. But I know as the way things are folding, I'm not foreseeing their win.